Hey everyone, Elizabeth Morris here again. Thank you for joining me for day 2 of our Attain Nail Bootcamp. I am so excited to get into color and maintenance and removal, and I'm even going to do a deep dive of our e-file today so that you can actually take your at-home nail care to professional levels. I wanted to make sure that I told you that I reviewed all of the comments that were left yesterday and also went through all of the chat to make sure that our team had answered everything as I'm doing these videos for you. If there's anything else that I don't answer today, please feel free to interact with me here. You can leave a question or comment in the chat for my team to respond to as I do this demonstration, or even after this event ends, if you have any comments or questions you want to leave below. That is wonderful, because this is really geared towards trying to make sure that you not only know about what makes Attain really special, but that you have the tips and tricks that are really going to make a huge difference in your user experience. All right, so let's get started with some really cool stuff today. So let's go over color, because I feel like that is a great place to start. The backfill I will talk about in a second on Attain strength, but I just want to talk about color application because that is kind of the precursor to me getting into everything else. So this is actually one of my favorite colors in the system. It's Attain Forest. And I'm going to use this color today because I feel like a lot of people think green is not a nail color, and I will totally disagree with you. All of our colors come with a shrink wrap. Actually, all of our products come with a shrink wrap except for the Attain Strength Powder. Some of them have seals on the inside. But we actually shrink wrap all of our products so that you know that they are new and authentic and have not been used on anybody else before. All of our colors, there's some unique stuff. If you haven't watched my unboxing video, let me tear this little guy. We make these really secure so that they're secure in shipment and also secure for you. The Attain colors are actually really cool. They have not only the color sticker on the side, which I love because if you have your whole library of color, you can just turn them on a shelf or in a drawer and you can see which color is facing you. I find that most people, the names are really fun with colors, but honestly, at the end of the day, when you're looking for a color, you're looking for a color. You're not looking for an actual name. And on the other side, obviously we have our beautiful names that we came up with, like this Attain Color Forest, but something that's really unique that not a lot of people know, and I don't know if this is interesting to you or not, but I thought this was cool. This is something that we came up with that I think is pretty unique. This 6-digit serial number in the middle of this ATN dash and then the C, this is actually the hexadecimal code for this particular color. So if you want to match the wallpaper of your phone, or you want to do anything that has to do with graphic design to create something, or you're looking online to try and match a color, this actually is going to tell you the hex code of this actual gel polish color so that we can actually do things like derive inspirational colors from photos or from other things that we see. And this is something that we're going to be developing in the future. We've got some ideas on how we're going to make this really fun and creative and interactive for all of our customers. But I wanted to just point this out that if you actually Google 212E18, this is actually the hexadecimal code that will give you this shade of green. So you can even match the wallpaper on your phone to your gel polish by just getting a background that is that hex code color. Kind of random, but I just thought that'd be kind of fun to share. That's something that I randomly came up with. I'm a total nerd, and I just wanted to develop something that I thought was unique and useful and kind of added an extra layer of coolness to all of the labels on our colors. All right, so let's get into actual color application. So similar to yesterday when we were talking about the way to take out product out of the bottle, your colors are going to be very similar. Our formula is very unique in that it is not only nice and thick and glossy, but the color stays very well suspended inside of the actual gel polish. So you're not going to have a situation where you've got this like watery mix that you're trying to get the true color payoff. All of our colors are extremely pigmented, so you do want to be applying them in thin coats, which I'm going to show you just now. So similar to nail polish, you're going to pull the brush out, you're going to scrape off one side so that you have that kind of nice clean side of your brush and more of that product on the other side of it. And I recommend that you do this over an Attain Strength overlay because it's going to give you that nice rigid nail, that stiff nail that isn't going to bend and flex, and it's going to help you prevent chipping, peeling, rubbing, any of that. Having this overlay underneath your colors is going to greatly increase the longevity and durability of the colors that you put on top. But you can also apply just a coat of adhesion and go straight in with your color if you're looking for more of a traditional 3-step gel polish application. All right, so I'm going to put the quote unquote cleaner side of my brush towards the cuticle skin, and I'm gonna have that kind of side that has the product on it right here. And again, I'm gonna touch down in the middle of my nail, and then I'm going to just do the same thing I did yesterday. I'm gonna apply kind of a wet layer. So I'm just gonna get the tip of my nail wet, and then I'm gonna shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. And again, you can keep contact with the gel color. This isn't like nail polish where we're trying to paint middle, side, side. You don't have to do that with gel. You can take your time, slow down, and I'm even just gonna leave a really big barrier here so you can clearly see it on camera. But you can get really close to the skin. I recommend, again, practicing this before you go crazy trying to get uber close. You can always get closer, but if you touch the skin, you're gonna create a major mess. So just take your time and really practice this. And I would rather have you get really good at a solid, clean application, even if it's kind of far away from the skin, than to be trying to achieve, color right up against it and it be an absolute disaster. And again, pushing, notice how I put my brush down and I just kind of push the product into place. I call this bulldozing, and you can see how nice of a clean line I can get. And then I can always just smooth that out to get more of an even coating, okay? So once you have that wet layer applied, you can cure it if you're happy with it. If you've got some major bald spots, you can even it out. But honestly, for the first coat, this is about how thin you want that first coat to be. So you can see it's very high color payoff, very opaque for just one coat of gel polish. But if I zoom in really, really, really tight here, you can see that there's kind of still some little bit of sheerness here, and that's totally okay because we're gonna apply 2 coats of color. Now, if you do get any of the product on your skin, again, use that little blade of your cuticle pusher to scrape that off. And again, you can get closer to the skin than this, but I just wanna keep this very easy because I'm trying to film and show you at the same time, and I want this to be a little bit more obvious than normal. Okay, now you're gonna cure this in your lamp for the 60-second cycle by pushing the button, and then when it comes back out, you're going to apply a second layer. But I wanted to address something really quick instead of just showing you, because we do show you in our tutorials how to apply the gel color. I wanted to show you another trick. My nail, this thumb is not super short, but I wanted to show you a trick for people that have short nails. This applies to not only Attain adhesion application, but it also applies to color, because for some of you, you may have skin that's poking out on the tip of your finger, or maybe you have bitten nails and you're struggling getting the color on without getting it all over the skin. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn your thumb around and point it at yourself. And you can do this also with any of your fingers. You can do it like this or like this, but with thumbs, you're gonna kind of turn your hand around and you're gonna pull that skin down with your pointer finger. Now, with that gel polish brush, I already applied the wet layer, which I recommend trying to do this as part of your wet layer and also afterwards. But what you can do, let me just zoom in, sorry, one more time, just to make sure you can see this clearly. Okay. I am going to turn my brush around, and I'm actually gonna bulldoze product right up over the edge of my fingernail. Can you see that? So rather than try to paint the end of my fingernail and possibly get it all over the skin, and you can see like even here on this corner, this is also something that helps you get that like ridiculously clean application. I'm just gonna take this brush and I'm gonna push it up to the corner and up to the edge and then pull back. So that allows you to coat the tip of your nail. You can go back and then just smooth it out if you've got a little bit of a hump or something like that. Okay? You can smooth it out then, but now I've actually got the whole end of my fingernail capped with color, And I didn't accidentally get it all over the end of my finger because I was able to kind of turn that around. So if you have very short nails, and I love how my hands look so dry on camera. They really don't look like this in real life, I promise. But also because I've been trying to keep these very dry with cleanser to make sure I don't have any oils on here that might interact with them. But nature of the game. So the gel is really able to be manipulated into any area, and it really helps you to have control over it if you toy around with coming at things from a different direction. So you can see how this differs from nail polish, because nail polish, we're traditionally taught to do, you know, the middle and then the left and then the right, and you have to do it in 3 strips because it's drying on you. And if you keep dragging across nail polish, you're going to get kind of this weird globby texture. With gel, I can literally continue to mess around with the positioning of the gel as long as I want to. So just like yesterday when I was talking about get comfortable playing with your product, that's really how you get a comfort level with your product, is you play with it a little bit. And you can do the exact same thing I did yesterday, which is if you're just messing around trying to practice your color application, squeegee a lot of this product off, put it back in the bottle, and if you need to completely clean off the entire nail with a wipe and cleanser, go ahead and do that, and you can start over from scratch. The other amazing thing about gel is that you can cure layer by layer. So if you mess up on the top layer, you can take off just the top layer and everything else that's cured underneath is gonna stay in place. And this is also amazing for when you get into doing nail art. If you make a mistake on one part of your nail art, you can wipe that off and try again. So I think gel is very forgiving because it doesn't air dry. It allows you to have time to really mess around with it. You just have to think of it in that way, which is, hey, I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna play around with it, manipulate it a little bit more before I lock it in and cure it in my lamp. Okay? So I hope that little tip helps you with your color application, because I know color application sometimes is something that people struggle with. And that setting your brush down and pushing the product is really ultimately gonna give you so much more control over the product. And that also applies for doing your opposite hand as well. You're gonna have so much more control. So I'm gonna take a wipe really quick and just wipe this off again, because I don't really wanna lock this in place just now. So you can take a wipe with cleanser and just pull away from your finger. Anytime we are curing gel or we've got uncured product on our nail, I want you to pretend like it's red nail polish that you're trying to get off. The sticky layer, which is also another great question that I got asked, was, after you cure your product, there's a sticky layer. So I wanted to show that just to demonstrate what I mean by that and what you need to do or not do with the sticky layer. So if you've never worked with gels before, you may not know what I'm talking about. And if you have worked with gel before, I'm sure you definitely know what I'm talking about. So let me just cure a thin layer of Attain adhesion on here. Okay. And anytime you're just doing a thin layer, or if you feel like you have control, you'll notice I do polish my nail more, but that's also because I have over a decade of experience working with gels. So my tips and tricks are meant to help you with, you know, if you're in a certain position with being a beginner, or if you're struggling with working with gel. But once you get more comfortable with gel, honestly, you can do whatever you want as long as you abide by those general rules, which is keep it off the skin, because that's going to ultimately lead to lifting. And again, the adhesion layer, that base layer with our Attain adhesion, is going to be the most important layer of anything that you put on, because if that's not adhered to the natural nail plate, you're really not going to get any success with anything that you put on top of it. Okay? And with colors, as I wait for my nail to cure, as with colors too, the thin coats and also using our Attain mini lamp is going to make sure that you get the proper curing and you get those optimal results. If you try using a different lamp with our gel polish and you find that it wrinkles or it only partially cures, that is because our gels are really, really formulated to be very powerful and very valuable and very purposeful. And the pigmentation of them and that opacity that you get with our gel polish is very unique. And so not every lamp on the market is going to cure our products. And like I said yesterday, wattage is it's a bummer, because that's the way that a lot of the lamps are being marketed, but it's not a good indicator of whether or not your lamp is going to cure your products. And just to be on the safe side and to make sure that you're getting the best experience possible, that's why we recommend you get a kit with a lamp so that you are set up for success. All right, so I just cured this layer of Attain adhesion. Now I'm gonna zoom in one more time. I have a gloved finger because if you remember from yesterday, I have a wicked paper cut on my finger, which I'm trying to keep the Attain clean out of because it does burn like crazy if you've got a cut. So the sticky layer, this is something that a lot of people ask about, but they're not quite sure what it is. And this sticky layer would, for someone that's used to using an air drying product, most people would be like, oh my gosh, this didn't dry. It's totally uncured on my nail. And that's actually not the case. So this sticky layer is actually something called the inhibition layer. And the reason why it's called the inhibition layer is that while our gel is curing inside the lamp, part of the chemical reaction is that any gel that is exposed to oxygen while it's curing is inhibited from fully curing. Now, you may have seen no cleanse products, and those use a completely different formula to try and push the curing so that it cures even the upper layers, even if it's exposed to oxygen. But we live on planet Earth. We've got oxygen in our environment, otherwise we'd all be dead. And any of that gel that is exposed to oxygen during curing in our lamp is going to have this tacky residue. So it's called the inhibition layer. It's totally normal, and you do not have to cleanse it off the nail until you are finished applying all of your layers. So when I apply the next layer of product over this sticky layer, it's going to cure because it's no longer going to be exposed to oxygen. So that's my little chemistry tidbit for you today. And that's also why we recommend don't be touching it with your bare hands. Again, our products are formulated to be safe even in their liquid form, but it's just a really good habit to create because you may be working with other products that aren't as hypoallergenic, and we want to make sure that you have good habits in place. So anytime you're going to be touching sticky, uncured products, make sure that you've got either a glove on or you cleanse it off with cleanser off of your skin. It's just a good habit to keep things away from the skin because that's ultimately where we develop overexposure to all of the possible ingredients that might be in a gel or acrylic or dip system that you might be coming across, okay? And that's especially important for at-home users because I feel like that's a part of the education that's really missing for at-home users. And because you are more prone to dabbling with things, that is something I wanted to make perfectly clear. So the sticky layer is totally normal. It's called the inhibition layer. It's a natural part of the chemical polymerization process that is part of curing gel products. And something really cool is I could actually put this nail that has the sticky uncured inhibition layer on it. The gel underneath is cured, so if I cleanse off the sticky layer, it will be perfectly shiny and dry. But something that's really fun is I could put this thumb in a little, shot glass of water, cure it one more time, and even the tacky layer will cure to a completely dry finish. And that's just because I'm removing oxygen from the environment around the gel, and it will fully cure all the way through. So just a little science experiment you could do if you're wanting to play around with your new gel products from Attain. So I will cleanse off this tacky layer so I can show you about maintenance today. Because beyond color application, I think maintenance is something that is really, really important to understanding how you move forward with biweekly or even monthly maintenance, and how you also keep the health of your nail intact. So let me cure this tacky layer off, and you can see that Attain adhesion is actually perfectly shiny and cured underneath. All right, so let's talk about maintenance. So I have a grown out Attain strength overlay nail here, and I've been doing all kinds of crazy stuff in my house. So I have nicks and cuts everywhere. This one is the worst one, but this one is still a little bit healing. But you can see I've got my grown out Attain strength overlay with my lipstick gel color on top, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm able to create that strength so that my nails are hard with my Attain strength, and then I put the color and Attain shine on top. So the maintenance part, we do have a tutorial that Herman did on backfilling Attain strength, and I want you to understand more about why we recommend maintaining Attain strength and backfilling your product rather than completely removing it. Okay, so I'm going to use an analogy that I use all the time when teaching people about removing and reapplication. If you've ever dyed your hair, you'll know that to touch up the roots of your hair dye, you don't strip all the color out of your hair, right? We just touch up the roots. Our nails are very similar. Our nails are made up of the same keratin protein as our hair. And that nail plate, this keratin protein, does not breathe. It doesn't have a blood supply to it. It doesn't need to be exposed every so often. It's just like our hair. It's like saying our hair needs to take a break. It needs to breathe. Our hair doesn't need to breathe. It's dead keratin protein. Same thing with our nail plates. So a lot of people have the misconception that they need to remove product every so often in order to let the nails breathe. But our nails actually don't breathe. Our toenails don't breathe. Our nails don't breathe. Now, our skin breathes, and the nail bed under our nail has a blood supply to it, but our actual nail plate where we apply product does not need to breathe, and it doesn't need to take breaks. The real reason why people usually need to take a break from nail products is because their nail plate gets thin over time. So our nail plate is actually layers of keratin protein material. And if you look at it under a microscope, it looks kind of like baklava. Have you ever heard of baklava? It's like that phyllo dough, kind of crispy layers of pastry, or a croissant. You could call it a croissant. It's got kind of that layered look. And every time that we file the surface of our nail, or we peel off our gels, or we bite and peel off our acrylics, you'll take layers of that nail plate off, and we only have so many layers in our natural nail plate. Our nail plate grows from an area back here called the matrix, so our new nail generates from here, but it takes about 3 to 4 months for it to go from here all the way to the tip of our nail. And if we're doing our nails every 2 weeks and we're constantly removing every single bit of product and then filing and reapplying every 2 weeks, you can see how your nails get really worn out really quickly with that removal and reapplication. You can definitely try to do it carefully and gently, but even so, you're ultimately going to end up causing a little bit of damage every time you do that. Just like with our hair, every time we dye it or we do something to it, or every time we heat style it, we create a little bit of damage. So we need to think about how do we mitigate a lot of that damage by working with overlays and maintaining a protective overlay rather than constantly removing it, okay? So when I say overlay, it's basically just saying that we maintain a coating on our nail. That is really what we came up with Attain Strength. And that's something that really doesn't exist in the at-home space. It's not something that exists within the education for at-home users. And I think this is something that we as professionals know about, and that's why you get backfills at the salon, but at-home users have never really had access to being able to maintain product on their nail without constantly removing it and potentially causing damage and needing to take actual breaks because their nails are worn out, okay? So today I'm gonna show you how to actually maintain this, and I'm gonna highlight using the Attain e-file because the e-file is honestly really, really cool. So let me just make sure my camera is focused here. So the e-file is pen-shaped. It's very lightweight. It's rechargeable. It is definitely not going to be as high in torque, which is the ability for it to spin under pressure. It's not the same torque rating as typical professional drills or e-files, and that's for a reason. And the reason why I say electric file is because this is not a Dremel and it's not a drill. It's just an electric way to file a nail instead of it being a hand file. So our Attain e-file has a forward and reverse function. Most of you are just going to be using forward. The reverse is mainly for different applications, but I want you to just use forward for now. I'll be doing more advanced tutorials with this e-file in the future. And it has an off. So it just turns on, one button click on that forward and it's going to turn on. It also features a light, so it lights up the nail that you're working on so you can see what you're doing. And it also comes with, in the box, so here's the Attain box, electric file box. So it comes with the e-file, and inside of this box is also this ceramic nail bit. We chose a ceramic nail bit to start, which we are going to be adding other ones to the mix, but Attain e-files, honestly, what we want to do with these is be able to shave off color and shave off product to backfill without accidentally damaging the natural nail or the skin. Ceramic bits are really great because they aren't sharp. So I can even file on my finger. You can see I can even take off some dead skin. You can even use this for calluses on your feet. If you've got calluses on your heels or any dry areas of your feet, you can use the same bit with a very, very light pressure to just polish off any dead skin. but it's powerful enough to shave off color. And if I apply too much pressure, I'll just do that. You'll notice it kind of slows down. So unlike a lot of traditional e-files where they kind of get out of control and they'll kind of rip around your finger or you might accidentally cut yourself, we wanted to give you something that provided the power of an electric file without the necessary risks or inability to learn as a beginner, okay? Now, some of you were asking me about, I got a couple emails asking me about how to insert and remove the bit. So this e-file, typical e-files have something called a lock chuck, which is an area that opens and closes to clamp down on a bit. Just like if you have a drill at home that you use for working around the house and different construction projects. Our lock chuck in this e-file actually just uses pressure to hold on to the bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your bit, make sure that there's no dust or debris around the opening and that there's no dust or debris on the shank here of the bit. You're going to hold each firmly. Make sure that you're inserting it as straight as possible. We don't want to be inserting it like this. You're going to hold it nice and straight, and you're just going to gently push in until you feel like there's quite a lot of resistance. And that's about where there's like maybe a centimeter of space here. If you push it too far in, you'll notice that the e-file will sound like it's struggling. It'll make a really weird noise. So let me push this in really far and you'll see what I mean. Can you hear that kind of? Okay, so let me do that one more time. So it sounds like it's kind of struggling. If I pull it out just a little bit, can you hear how it kind of changes that pitch? And so we want to have this out just a little bit because it allows us to use the whole length of the bit without accidentally running into the e-file itself. So if you wondered why you don't shove it all the way down to match up with this, that's on purpose. The red band means that it's a fine ceramic bit, and fine is a great grit because it's not super sharp or clunky. You're going to be able to have a nice smooth filing experience even as a beginner. And this just has one speed, which is great for both, removing product, removing color, and also, again, you can even use it on super dry calluses or skin if you want to shave that off and refine that. Okay, so let me turn this on. Now, yesterday you guys were probably wondering why I have such a wacko hodgepodge of product over here. I actually have red over another color underneath just to show you that that's possible. And then also here, I put red on black because I wanted to give you a tutorial of how you can practice removing color. So as I said about maintaining this Attain Strength overlay, in our maintenance video, Herman shows you how to backfill this. And because there isn't any color on top, it's very simple to do. You just have to prep the natural regrowth and reapply the product. But when we apply color, we have to get rid of this color in order to be able to backfill our Attain Strength, okay? So this is why I recommend doing Attain Strength underneath, because it's going to protect your natural nail underneath all of this filing, and we're going to maintain that protective overlay just like I have on my thumb. I'm going to keep this gel on my nail. I'm going to keep this Attain Strength on my nail, and that way I can just apply polish on top and remove that, but I'm going to have that nice, strong, firm nail. Same thing goes for color. I can remove the color without touching my natural nail repeatedly, okay? So in order to practice this, I actually applied 2 coats of red over 2 coats of black. And I didn't really pay too much attention about the shape of it or how it looked or anything. I wanted to show you this as a tutorial because this is a great way for you to practice removing just the color without accidentally digging through into other layers of your overlay. And honestly, nails is not rocket science. We can all learn how to do this. It just takes a little bit of practice. So a couple of best practices. One, we want to balance our hand. You can do this way and balance your hand. I recommend resting your wrists on your table. So I have both of my wrists. Let me just back up just a little bit here so you can see. So on the edge of my table, I have both of my wrists resting on the table. And then I'm also going to balance my hands together. And I like to do this pulling towards myself. I find that to be a very natural direction. If you are left-handed, I am right-handed, but if you are left-handed, you're going to take this, you're going to put it in reverse. So you're going to tap this button twice, and then you can also pull towards yourself with it. or you can do forward going this direction. It's totally up to you, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my e-file on, and and it's really nice because the light is gonna help me see where I am. I'm gonna balance my hands together with my wrists on the edge of the table, and I'm just gonna use very light pressure, super light, and I'm just gonna pull towards myself in one strip, okay? And this is okay. You can take your time doing this, practicing. I love people to practice because you don't have to get in there and be all fast and try and do this. It's really about being light-handed and letting the e-file do its trick. So if you put too much pressure, you'll hear the e-file slow down. Try and practice just getting one even pitch of the e-file and coming down in a strip like that, okay? So I'm gonna do a little bit faster. And this just saves your hand from having to do a lot of hand filing. So I'm gonna keep going until I start to expose black. Once I expose black, I'm gonna stop filing in that area. And I'm gonna go into a different section, like so. So you can see that I'm just exposing the black gel polish. This is an excellent way to practice removing just the gel color so that when you do your gel color over an Attain Strength overlay, you're able to just remove the color that's on top of the Attain Strength overlay, okay? So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here just so you can see the angles at which I do this. So I'm gonna come up, and it's okay if you get a little bit of color on your, I did this really quick, so this bit of color on the end of my bit is probably because I just slopped on some red and it's a little under-cured underneath because I had black on top. So don't worry about that. It should come off in a nice kind of powdery finish. So when I come on this side, I'm going to basically just use it like a little eraser pen, and I can just pull towards myself on this side as well. So you can just practice doing this and getting all of that red off. And I'm trying to do this just so I can show you like exactly what I would imagine it would look like if you were practicing this. So now I have the red off all in those areas, and now I can just come down the center. And again, you can do it in slower strips. Also make sure your e-file is 110% charged before you do this, because if you don't have your e-file fully charged, it's going to struggle. But this is not intended to be a professional grade e-file. It's intended to be something that saves your hands and your wrists from trying to hand file all of this off, but also allowing you to learn how to e-file and practice this without being scared of cutting yourself or hurting yourself. And you can see, sorry, I'm not on camera. You can see that I can get really close to my skin and it doesn't actually cut me or hurt me in any way, okay? So there's my red on black removal. And so the same thing applies. Let me turn this off. The same thing applies for our Attain Strength backfill. So what I would do is I would remove all the color that's on top of just this Attain Strength area, stay away from the natural nail because we don't want to overfile that area. And then you can do your same maintenance tutorial like we showed in our backfill tutorial and reapply a new layer of color. It is something that takes practice. So this is the other thing that Herman and I were talking about the other day, which is when it comes to learning how to do anything, your first time doing it is not going to be 110% successful. Hopefully this boot camp has helped you learn a little bit about tips and tricks on working with these products and being able to have the power of salon quality results at home, but it does take practice. And that goes for even professional nail technicians when they first get started. So I want you to be comfortable practicing and experimenting and really getting comfortable with this process. Even Herman, his first time, failed miserably applying this. And by his third time applying Attain Strength, he became an absolute expert at it. His results now applying his own Attain Strength manicures are just as good, if not better, than going to a salon. And he even surpasses sometimes my skill as a professional nail technician. So I want you to be encouraged to practice and learn and don't give up and try again and play around with your product and get familiar with it, because that is something that's really cool about doing things at home is you have the ability to make this part of your craft and part of your nail care experience and really make it fun instead of feeling like you're pressured to get specific results right from the get-go. So this will not be the last boot camp that we ever did. I am very excited to be looking forward as to how we can better provide education to support this product line. I really, really enjoy teaching. That's one of the biggest things that I've become famous for with my other business, The Nail Hub. But Attain is definitely a new project for me, and I'm so excited to finally be able to offer professional products to at-home users with the Attain system. And so we are looking to do more boot camps, more education, more YouTube tutorials, more amazing content on social and email. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to our email list. You can subscribe via our website, attaincosmetics.com. I'll also throw that in the feed here so that you can get a link to sign up to our email list if you aren't already subscribed. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our YouTube channel and our social at Attain Strength. We really would love to help you take your nail care to the next level and to not only provide you the skills you need to be a great at-home user, but provide you an amazing, high-quality, hypoallergenic, beautiful, well-curated nail system that is honestly going to provide you exactly what professionals use, but in a format that's amazing and affordable and doable for at-home users. All right, so if anything didn't get answered today, please throw a comment down below this video. We will be sure to include that in our next content that we put out either on social or here on YouTube. I hope my team was able to answer all of your questions in the interim. I really thank you for attending these last couple of days and for interacting with me, and there will be lots more to come. All right, bye guys.